We begin tonight with an exclusive interview with someone who knows a thing or two about White House staff shakeups. He was White House Chief of Staff for President Trump from January until July 2017. Before that, he was chairman of the Republican National Committee. And we're pleased to welcome Reince Priebus. Reince, good to see you, man. How are you?
Great to be here.
There's
a lot to learn in that opening.
Yeah, come on.
Good stuff.
So what do you think about where we are right now? I mean, the Republicans, we're going to get to what's happening on trade, but the House committee, the Intel committee today announced it's shutting down. They didn't find any Russian collusion. The president's been saying this consistently. What's your take?
Well, you might recall in the summer, about 6-7 months ago, there was starting to bubble up a call among political leaders, party leaders, and our party that the Intel committees of both the House and the Senate should shut down because the Mueller probe would be so far-reaching that there would be no need for these committees to continue subpoenaing people and interviewing people. And it was actually the president that said, no, let these committees do their work. So behind closed doors, the president was saying, no, let them keep going, because I know that eventually they're going to issue a report, and the report's going to say there was no collusion. We never talked to the Russians. We didn't negotiate with these people. So the president was actually very confident this would happen. I've never seen it. I, of course, never spoke to Russians at the RNC. I've never heard of other people doing it. Never talked to people like Papadopoulos and Carter Page. So, you know, I'm not surprised, but I would want people to understand that the president was also behind the scenes quietly saying, let these committees do their work.
Maxine Waters was on another network tonight, and this is just so hilarious. We had to play it for you. Let's watch.
Who would believe Nunes was working in a credible way to find out what took place? As a matter of fact, he was simply a messenger boy for the president, running up in the middle of the night, trying to prove that Obama, for example, had wiretapped the president. And so they can conclude whatever they want to. They weren't doing anything to begin with. It was not a credible investigation.
So that's what the Democrats' take is. That Nunes is a messenger boy. I don't know if that's very nice to say.
This is going to be their take through the midterms and through 2020. The problem in the midterms, of course, is that you've got marginal races that are in play. So, you know, 80% of the districts are either 90% Republican or 90% Democrat. There are no real marginal races other than maybe about 22 to 25.
We're going to get into the Pennsylvania race in a moment.
So this type of rhetoric isn't going to work. The impeachment rhetoric doesn't work in marginal races. These are generally people that want to see, you know, Washington work, and policy-driven type debates is what you're going to see in those marginal districts.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, on this trade issue, I mean, you're a free trader. When I hear free trade, I'm like, okay, I'm for trade. I want trade.
Free trade's great.
Yeah, but $150 billion trade deficit with Europe, $360 billion with China. Even with Japan, we have a $68.8 billion trade deficit. The South Korean free trade deal, each year, the deficits have grown and grown and grown. So my question is, how do you get leverage with these countries that are taking us to the cleaner on these trade? He's getting leverage now, is he not, with these tariffs?
You do what President Trump does, which is, if you see carefully what he's doing, is he puts the chips on the table. He puts the game plan on the table so people can see it and they can freak out about it. But then what he does is systematically he negotiates each piece. So Canada's off the board, Mexico's off the board, had a phone call with the Prime Minister of Australia over the weekend, tweeted out they're off the board. And eventually, I think what he's going to do is he's going to put the issue on the table. He's going to be able to negotiate with these countries like he's always wanted to do, one by one, bilaterally.
And we're doing this now. This is what I'm saying. The Republican Party's criticizing him, and he got the EU and Japan 2 days ago to say, we're standing against China trade abuses. Do you think they ever would have done that?
No.
With Lighthizer and Wilbur Ross? They never would have done that unless they were looking at trade tariffs.
But I would say this, in defense of some, you know, I liked your monologue. It was very intelligent. But in defense of part of it, the president chooses on his own to put people around him that don't agree with each other on major, major things. I mean, so even when I was there, it wasn't like, you know, it's a couple narratives that were incorrect on this tariff stuff. This wasn't something that the president suddenly came up with and then, oh my God, he just went out with the tariffs out of nowhere. This was something that was debated from before the inauguration. He wanted the steel and aluminum tariffs since before the inauguration. We debated it week after week after week, and he got pretty ticked off a few times at the staff and said, "Hey, where are my tariffs?"
He's impatient for change.
Well, right, and it's not easy, but that's what makes him who he is.
Right.
But this was not, this was not something that just came about. He's been debating it forever. The other thing is, it's what President Trump is to put Wilbur Ross and Gary Cohn and Bob Lighthizer and Stephen Miller.
They're all
and
incredibly
Steve Bannon.
smart people.
Right, but also people that don't agree
right.
with it. I mean, some White Houses have the same species of people. Everyone's the same. He has no problem putting natural predators together. And let them bring their A game and fight it out, and then he makes his decision.
Yeah, I really respect that, and I want to get into this.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, I completely agree with you, and I don't mean to say there shouldn't be debates. I think on some of the core issues, at some point you do have to just kind of.
But he's always going to go with his.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end,
and he goes with his gut.
If it's close, he's going to go with his gut.
All right, let's talk about this Pennsylvania district. District is 18.
Yeah.
This is being watched by everybody. This is a district that Trump won big time,
right.
Big league, and now it's really tight. It's going to be redrawn in November anyway, but this is being looked at as a big bellwether. Monmouth came out with the polls showing the Democrat 33-year-old prosecutor Conor Lamb ahead by a little, but you're not so sure the Democrats could pull this out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really hard for the Democrats to pull this out. I think they may be overhyping this a little bit, and I think the Republicans are playing this pretty well by setting the expectations that that they may lose. Here's what the reality is. You're right. The president won this district by about 20 points. Today, he's up by maybe anywhere from 10 to 12 or 13. He's right side up in the district. So there's been a loss of about 8 points in that particular place. Candidates matter. But what really this is going to be about, and people have been talking about it today, is turnout. And what I would explain to people is that in a district like this, if you had a bowl of popcorn, one was Republican, one was Democrat, the voters in the Republican bowl, the popcorn's all the way up to the top. In the Democrat bowl, the popcorn's about 2/3 of the way.
I'm hungry now.
Right. You need some salt and butter.
My favorite thing.
But here's the thing. Republicans have a full bowl to turn out. If they do a really, really poor job and say only turn out 2/3, and the Democrats do a great job and get every single person out, then they can win. But it's still going to be very difficult.
I don't see it.
The data so far has been showing things trending back to the Republican over the last few days. So
I just don't see how you see that Trump speech in Pennsylvania and think that is mojo. I don't care what it says about Chuck Todd. I wouldn't have said it.
The one thing about it being a referendum on Trump, I think you have to throw that one out, because if Donald Trump was on the ballot today in that district, he'd win the district. So the question is the candidate chosen by the Republican?
Well, no one's going to be Trump,
and is the turnout in that district going to make the difference between the two parties? I think the RNC and the Republicans.
I'm feeling like I'm going back to 2012 with you at the RNC here. I'm getting the murder board out to see what districts won.